Hey guys, just on my evening walk here, and I just wanted to rattle off on my brain. I had some thoughts in my brain right now on being a hard worker and some tips that I employ. How to think of yourself as a hard worker. It's a state of mind, and mostly about dedication. So come along on this walk with me as I blabber. All right. Hey guys, Nick here. I want to talk today about how to be a hard worker. I want to talk about how you can develop that hard work ethic, that iron will, and if you don't have that, how could you develop it? Because if you don't have that, then you can't exceed at anything, whether it's fitness, whether it's women, whether it's just getting a better life. The world does not give things to lazy people, except a mediocre existence. If you want those things, you have to be a hard worker. You have to have an iron will. So to become this, you have to go through sort of a mind shift. To understand what it is to be a hard worker, you have to understand your experience of reality. Your experience of reality is nothing but a series of state changes. You're changing from a happy state to a sad state to a positive state, and your state is built up of thoughts and feelings, okay? Feelings within your physical body and thoughts within your mind, and they combine to form your state, okay? To become a hard worker, you have to consistently be able to control your state so that you're always choosing to identify with, just hard work, okay? You are the thoughts and feelings that you choose. I'm like anyone else. I get, thousands of, negative feelings throughout the day. They come to me, but I treat them like, just white noise. A negative thought, an anxious thought, it just goes one ear, and out the other. I don't put an emotional charge on things, and when you put an emotional charge on something, you choose to identify with it, and your entire persona, which is an actor's mask, is something that they're just made up of the feelings that you choose to identify. And this is so important. This is why I say you gotta choose to be a winner. You gotta choose to become a hard worker, because if you don't choose to do that, then you can't become that thing accidentally. You can't become a winner accidentally. You can't become good with women accidentally. You can't become good at business accidentally. You can't become a hard worker accidentally. It just doesn't work that way. You just have to choose to identify with those feelings, So you have to choose that identity of a hard worker, okay? Within my persona, I've chosen to identify with multiple things, okay? I've chosen to be a better dresser. Some people, think I do dress nice. Some people think I don't. But I choose to think with that. I choose to identify with that. I choose to be a hard worker. I choose to identify with being fit. I choose to identify with someone that is focused on business, okay? And once I choose those to be part of my inner core, my inner identity, my actions, they manifest into reality. And what I mean by that is I've made a strong emotional commitment to those identities. I've chosen the identity of a hard worker. It's in my core, I take pride in it, and therefore it manifests in my reality around me when I choose to identify with those thoughts every day. I choose to keep working instead of quitting. I'm going to structure my day every day in my little list. I put all the things in there that I have to do, and I'm going to put my 8 to 10 hours in every single day. I'm going to do it every single day, because if I don't do it, I feel like shit, because I lose the pride that I have in myself, in my identity, and I lose that satisfaction of getting, basically high on achievement. When I finish a hard day's work, I feel terrific. I feel like I got everything done in my to-do list. And sometimes I have to do more than that. And when I get that accomplished, then I feel like, okay, now I can relax. I can watch a movie, have something good for dinner, because I feel like I've earned it, because I programmed myself to have pride in being a hard worker, to have pride in being a winner, to have pride in being the guy who gets his shit done for the day, okay? And if I don't do that, then I'm gonna have a really hard time looking myself in the mirror at the end of the day. Okay, so I'm gonna have a hard time going to sleep, and I'm gonna think in the back of my head, I've got that unfinished business. Man, Nick, you didn't give it 100% today, you know. And it starts from the beginning of my day. Like every day, right from the start, I will wake up and do hardcore cardio for 20 minutes. Okay, I do lifting a few times a week too, to the point where I'm really pushing myself hard, and I start that day with just a war, I just do war on that cardio. Um, that's just a good start to the day. And then I go do the boring things that I need to do on my list. And then I do the fun things that I like to do, making videos, and I do that every day, part of my creativity. And, that builds the identity. So like if you want to build, like the identity of having like an iron will is what I call it. If you need to, if you want that, you need to internalize it and say, from now on, this lazy way that I've been living through life is over. Okay. You have to make it an emotional attachment. You have to say, I'm so fucking sick of tired of being lazy and not getting what I want, I mean, you should be looking at other people and looking at them and say, what the fuck? I can do better than this guy. I'm hungrier than this guy. I've got way more energy. I can take it to the next level over this guy. Model yourself after someone that you look up to, and you say, I can do everything that he can. I've got more energy. I identify with hard work. I don't need to sit here and be lazy. From now on, I'm changing this. I'm going to be a hard worker. I'm getting shit done. Emotional identification with that hard work, and then bringing that into your identity, and then making that part of you. So like motivation will only take you so far, but dedication is what brings you through the hard times. Dedication is the key. So motivation is an emotion. Dedication is an identity. My identity is that I am dedicated. Okay, so like well after I've had motivation to do things, well past after I'm burnt out, I just keep going because it's part of my identity to do that. Just like it's part of some guy's identity to be lazy and just sit home playing, video games all day, smoking pot, It's part of my identity to work through burnout. It's part of my identity to work on stuff that I don't want to work on, like when I'm sick and I'm tired, or I've been putting out for the last 3 months. I just keep doing it because it's part of my identity, okay? So like the original thought comes from choosing that identity. Use that emotional energy to identify with that thought and make it part of your identity. That's how you develop it. That's how you develop the start of it, at least, okay? So your identity comes from your identity and your pride. And how do you make that consistent every day? You just simply choose the thought of hard work, okay? So every day you're going to be tested 1,000 ways. Every day you're going to be, all these negative thoughts are coming in through. Oh, I'm tired. I don't want to do this last rep. Oh, I don't want to set up this domain on my website. I don't want to deal with this client. I'm just frustrated with this project here. I'm so far away from my goals, all these negative thoughts are going to blah, 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 blah. Okay. You just need to say no. You just need to do it. And you say, nope, I'm not moving until I've done my 8 hours. Okay. I'm not moving. I'm not quitting. I'm not quitting for any reason. I'm not getting off this elliptical for any reason. I'm not going to stop lifting until I can't move the bar anymore. Okay. I'm not quitting. I'm not quitting until my scheduled time for the day is over, until I'm done. Until I've done the amount of time that I've scheduled, the amount of time I've done scheduled every day, 8 to 10 hours, okay? 8 to 10 hours. You don't get to start cruising until you've built it, okay? And then you get to the point where I'm not moving, I'm not quitting for any reason, I'm not going to stop lifting until I cannot lift the bar anymore. I'm not quitting until my scheduled time for the day is done, it's over. Until I've done the amount of time that I've scheduled every single day, until I've done my 8 to 10 hours, okay? You don't get to start cruising until after you've built it, okay? So when I talk about like how to achieve goals, you have to go through this blasting phase. It's hard, you don't really like it, you're just powering through. And then you get into this cruising state where you're like, okay, I'm not working 10 hours every day, and then I'm working only 8 hours a day. And then you get to the point where you're just turning on autopilot, the revenue's coming in, and then you're working 4 to 5 hours a day. Okay, when you're in the starting blasting phase, you got to put that work in. you gotta have that iron will as part of your identity. It's just a choice, you know. Doesn't matter if you've been a loser your whole life, you've been lazy your whole life. Doesn't matter. None of that does. You can choose the identity. You say, from now on, I'm going to start winning. From now on, I'm going to start working hard all the time. Okay. So like anyone who's ever succeeded, they just did it earlier than you. You know, when I was like 15 years old, I was a hard worker. Even when I was in, wrestling, they put me up a weight class because they saw that they knew I had the heart, They put me in wrestling these big guys. Got myself in over my head there. Every coach liked me because they said, you got a lot of heart. And I tried harder at everything when I was younger. That was a choice I made when I was young, and that's a choice that I'm still making today. That's a choice that anyone can make. When you start identifying with a winner and a hard worker, that's key. And then, you take it to this blasting off phase, and you just put the time in. You got to get out there, and you got to start competing with people that you look up to. The person you want to become, you model yourself after that. And you got to work hard for that. You're competing with other people. Every time someone says, hey, I can't work hard, I just hear in my head, not serious, not serious, not serious. If you had a gun to your head and you had to work 10 hours a day, you'd work 10 hours a day. If you knew if there was like $100,000 and you had to work 8 to 10 hours, most people would do it, but most people aren't serious. Most people don't want that $200,000 a year. If they really wanted it, they'd be spending that time learning new programming languages. Then, if you're not doing that, then you're not serious. If you keep making excuses, you're just lying to yourself. I mean, you don't want to work hard. If you wanted to work hard, you would work hard. If you truly wanted to work hard, you would take all that frustration and then you would internalize it, and then you'd say, from now on, I'm a freaking hard worker, man. This is part of my identity. Okay, from every single day from now on, I'm just gonna choose the hard working thought. Okay, many times as like those negative thoughts come up in your brain, just say no. Okay, it's gonna be hard at the start. It always is, because you're breaking up your routine, your homeostasis in your brain. Whenever you try to break a pattern, it's gonna come with a lot of internal resistance. So you just go from blasting to cruise to set it and forget it. Okay. So for me nowadays, it's harder for me to be lazy. It's hard for me. I couldn't just sit on the couch and watch TV when I'm supposed to be working, because every single minute, I'd just be sitting there. My brain would be nagging me, dude, come on, get to business, man. You're just wasting your time. Don't be so lazy, man. So those are the kind of thoughts that I get if I do just sit there, just be incredibly difficult for me to just like sit there, smoke weed, play Xbox. I don't like weed. I'd feel like I'm not getting what I need done. I'd feel frustrated, That's what happens when you like establish that pattern. After a while, it just gets easier and easier. But in the beginning, you just got to take that identity on of a hard worker. And then you have to make that 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 choices a day of like, hey, I'm just sitting here and I'm going to do my work. You set up your list, you set up your things that you need to do every day. You predefine your 8 hours of work, and then you just sit there and you don't stop until you've done what you've set out to do every single day. And when those negative thoughts come up, and they always do in the beginning, those demons are just going to be like savagely attacking you. Say, oh man, you can't do it. You just can't do it anyways. You're not like those other guys. You'll never get ahead. You're just tired. Man, just go play some video games, man. Watch some TV, watch some YouTube, man. Go, read a book or something. And you're just responding in your brain. You're saying, no, 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 no. Every little negative thought that comes up, you just say no. It's like this little petulant child, whiny child, nagging you, pulling on your pant leg, saying, daddy, come play with me. Come, let's go play some video games. No. You just treat those thoughts like you do just a little kid, okay, that's just bugging you. Why, daddy? Why won't you? You just say no. Identify those thoughts. Know what they are. It's just negativity. They're taking you away from your goals. Just every day. That's it. You just make those little small choices. You choose to identify as a hard worker. You choose that positivity state, and you just continue to choose it past the point of motivation, because you're dedicated at this point. It's a part of your pride that you don't get up from your desk, that you don't get distracted, and you look around. And then once you internalize that pride, you look around, you see everyone is lazy, and it just disgusts you. There's so many good things out there, and nobody's going to go get it because they're just lazy, and you just start to get disgusted with that mentality. So, and then that'll just stop you from becoming one of those lazy people. You just be like, man, I'm not the kind of guy that just sits there and says you're going to do something and then stops. I'm not going to just sit there, play video games all day, I'm not going to just sit there and not take care of my business, I'm going to sit there and like, oh, my back hurts, Sometimes I don't want to do things, but you just sit there, you say, hey, I got to get this done. You're going to get these thoughts like, oh man, I'm a million miles away from achieving my goal, You don't, you just focus and you say, I'm going to look at the clock and I'm just going to be like, okay, boom, I'm doing this. I'm head down, nose to the grindstone. Nope, no more negative thoughts. Moving forward, and you just hack away at that big project, at that big mission, just chopping at it, just little bit by little bit by little bit, okay? Just one more thing. Let me just do this one more thing for the day. And then you just tick tock through the day, up to 8 hours, whatever your goal is. You're going to get all these negative thoughts, 500, 2,000, 3,000 times, depending on how self-aware you are. Like the more self-aware you are, the more you see like the negative patterns that have been running through your head. And the more self-aware you are, the more options it gives you to identify with the positive ones, okay? You're going to catch yourself trying to fall into these lazy states. So you got to be aware and you got to consistently choose these hard-working states and these hard-working thoughts and choose to identify with the feelings of strength and positivity. And I'm just going to keep saying, I'm not going to stop until I'm done. Throughout the day, as many times as it takes until my shit is done. And then at the end of the day, you get to relax, When it's 2 o'clock, you're just sitting there and you're grinding. You're like, oh man, when is it going to be like 5 o'clock? When can I stop? When am I going to get to this 8 to 10 hours? And then you're just like, you say to yourself, another 3 hours and I'm good. Another 3 hours and I'm good. 3 o'clock comes around. And then you're like, oh, almost done. 2 more hours. Just focus, power through it. 5 o'clock rolls around. Oh, finally, I can go relax, go, call my girlfriend, go shower up, get ready, grab a good dinner, reward yourself, pat yourself on the back. Man, I did it. Powered through it. First day of being a hard worker. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. It's like just feeling a really good workout. You feel so good about getting all your goals accomplished. You're like, oh man, this is my life going forward. This is myself going forward. I'm going to shut down these negative thoughts every day. And now I get to relax, totally let go, and I get to sleep. And I can just sleep comfortably because I know that I hit my goals throughout the day. And I knew that I got done what I was supposed to do. And I just feel so rested. So anyway, that's just my thoughts on being a hard worker. Basically, it's about dedication and a few little mind tricks, okay? Always saying no to distractions, setting a clock, for the amount of hours you need to work. You need that list, and you just need to internalize it. Make it part of your pride and do it for your self-esteem. You'll feel great. And anyways, that's just me blabbing. All right. Well, anyways, I'm done with this, so I hope that was helpful for not only you, but just me getting that off my chest. All right, take care.